We've been receiving complaints that when people apply for National Housing Fund, it takes a long time for the approval to be done. Within your 2 years, 24 months, still hold you. What have you done here?
Thank you very much. One of the first things I did when I assumed office was to do a retreat. And the theme of that retreat was improving turnaround time. Well, like I said, I have been around this institution for quite some time, and I know that this issue of delays in getting approvals has been an issue. So we did turnaround time, a retreat on turnaround time. We reviewed our entire processes, and we were able to reduce our turnaround time by 50%, meaning that loans that were taking about 3-4 weeks to conclude were now being concluded within 2 weeks. And so after that review, we decided also to look at the issue of how do we implement digitalization. And so we went into partnership with our primary mortgage banks, so they are able to submit their applications online, rather than anybody that has been interacting with the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria in the past will know that we're doing it with a lot of documents, files, moving up and down. And so now quite a number of PMBs have been able to achieve integration with our IT platform, and they are able to submit their applications online. And what we intend to do is to achieve a paperless environment by the second quarter of this year, so that any interaction is going to be online real time.
Okay. Now, we also receive this complaint where Federal Mortgage Bank approved, disbursed, and the beneficiary cannot have access to the money at the PMI during your 2 years period. Have you experienced it? If you have not experienced it, what have you been doing to prevent it?
Thank you very much. I have not experienced it during my tenure. However, I have inherited complaints arising from this experience. And in banking, we say when you are processing a loan for a customer, in our case, in this case, a developer, you need to be able to make sure that all of the things that are required under your due diligence are carried out. Because once a developer or a customer collects money, it becomes the master. And so what we did was to look at the framework for our construction facilities to see how can we implement those decisions that will make sure that an NHF contributor that gets an approval for a loan gets his house. So one of the things we did was, number one, this bank had implemented a program, policy of saying applications for mortgages should be processed when houses are 70% completed. The idea was because there was going to be the time to allow that process to conclude. So as you start the application when the house is 70% completed, then by the time the houses are completed, it is expected that the loan also would have been approved. We have discovered that a lot of developers have abused that. And so when applications are submitted for NHF loan at 70%, for example, some of the developers end up not completing those houses. Some even transfer those housing units to some other people. So what we now do is that at the inception, when we are approving any NHF applications, we do a lot of due diligence. We send officers to confirm the existence of those houses. We make sure that before disbursements are made, allocation of those houses are now going to be done by the Federal Government. Because now it is the developers that do the allocations. So we decided to take over the allocation of those houses, so the developer has no right to allocate houses, so they cannot subsidy the loan. Secondly, we are also amplifying a new policy to see where we are going to collaboration for housing development. We would insist that the title document is issued in the name of the Federal Government, especially where we are collaborating with states. That gives the bank a lot of powers, and so a developer cannot reasonably claim that they own the estate, Because the truth of the matter is that it is the bank that is financing the development, and so the estate belongs to the bank. In the past, part of the challenge has been that there are instances where developers have provided land, maybe contributed some equity, and so they feel this element of having the joint ownership with the bank. So we are now learning from our past experiences and making sure that we are able to protect the interests of our contributors. And where such happens, we engage the developers to the extent that we are able to sue the developers. One, we blacklist them, and we will also normally use the instrumentality of the credit bureau to say if you do not demonstrate integrity, and then we will hold the loan that you hold against us on the credit bureau. So you can't go somewhere else to hold.
That's a new development.
It's a new development.
Credible.
So to that extent, they are accountable to the bank. So it's one of the things we are trying to address.
Keep a date with Housing Development Program every week on AIT. Housing Development is the first and pioneer housing program in Nigeria and by extension, Africa. It remains the authentic voice of the Nigerian housing and construction industry. Housing Development is the only credible and specialized platform for seasoned professionals in the build industry, where quality and credible players in the real estate sector meet to interact, showcase, and analyze government policies. It is no doubt that hundreds of thousands of prospective Nigerians who desire to own their personal properties have done so through the assistance of Housing Development Program in the last 10 years. If you are a stakeholder in the build industry, here is where you must be. We are authentic, credible, and supported by all the leading professionals in the build industry. Housing Development on AIT.